y'all. This is Christine Dean, your DFW Networking Diva, and I just wanted to reach out and say, hey, and I want to talk a moment about something that's really near and dear to my heart. Many of you are aware that my youngest son is active duty Air Force, and for me, I'm a passionate patriot, right? And whatever I can do to support my children is always huge. And with the youngest one choosing to serve, I'm extremely honored by this. I am so proud of him. I am just excited about it. And he's been serving for several years now. And I always try and do whatever I can to be supportive, whether that's taking care of his cats while he's deployed, when they terrorize my little domestic terrorist, and terrorize my home, whatever it takes, right? I love when he gets to take time off and come visit. It's absolutely wonderful. But I also got involved a lot with the veteran community. I'm a former mil spouse myself, so I'm familiar with the military lifestyle, we'll say, the moving that goes along with it, the isolation sometimes that comes along with it. And my goal in getting involved in all this is very selfish. I want us to have a united veteran community. So when my son gets out, we just open up our arms and go, okay, come on in. What do you need? What do you need help with? Let's help and get you doing what you want to do. And so that's huge to me. And in the process of building that community, I get to help all these other veterans. And I love that. I love what I do. I serve on the board of directors for the American Veterans Chamber of Commerce, the DFW Veterans Chamber of Commerce, and I'm a proud board of advisors for the Veterans Ranch. And that's actually what I want to talk about today. And this is something near and dear to my heart. I think we need to do more to help the veterans. And I love what J.R. Smith is doing with the Veterans Ranch. So I invited him to come chat with me today. J.R., welcome.
Good morning. How y'all doing out there?
Starting way too serious today, I'm telling you, but I can't help it. This is something I really feel strongly about. When I heard about the Veterans Ranch, I was like, I'm in. How can I help? I just couldn't help myself. Your passion for what you do, and tell everybody a little bit more about what you do, because they may not know like I do.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Well, this all started back in 2017, literally with a dream in the middle of the night, and wrote down the word ranch on a legal pad, had no idea what that meant. And, within a couple of weeks, eventually visiting a Chili's restaurant on our way to a Bass Pro Shops. About 30 Chili's napkins later, the ideas for the Veterans Ranch was born. The concept has evolved and sharpened. We've polished the gem over the almost 5 years that we've been doing this, but the goal's always been the same: work with veterans and their immediate household family through equine therapy. Now, JR, what's equine therapy? Well, it's really simple. We're going to have you play with some horses. We're going to start by putting a grooming brush in your hand and get you to start working a rhythmic motion of building a bond of trust with an animal that's inherently born not to trust anyone. Horses are very intuitive. They truly can feel a gnat land on their back, but they do know everything about you 10, 15 feet away. So, whether it's anger, anxiety, nervousness, they will project those feelings back to you. Our end goal is really simple. We want you coming full circle, laying down any heavy coats of burden that you may still be hanging on to. Maybe you didn't even realize you were still hanging on to, and walk off a new and improved version of yourself. And however many times that takes, the Veterans Ranch is going to be here for you to help you all out.
Thank you so much, JR. As people hear about equine therapy, okay, well, I like horses. The idea of working with horses to help you feel better. We have therapy, don't we? I mean, why do we need horses?
Horses are very interesting. They feel what you feel. They know what you know. Studies have been shown. I mean, this is all verifiable, Googleable stuff, right? Horses will actually change their heart rhythm to match the person they're working with. We call them God's majestic animal, because I mean, there's a lot of things out there that people say elephants and dogs, and it's probably all true. But, you can't put a halter on an elephant that I know of and, kind of walk around. Dogs are amazing. I've had a dog in my house since I was 8 years old. I love them to death. My 80-pound lap dog's running around here somewhere. But Horses are just amazing as to they're great listeners. You can pour your soul out to them. And my dad, who's a Vietnam veteran, calls him your seventh sense. The buddy in your unit that knew everything about you, the good, the bad, the ugly, all the words, right? But he was there to get you home. You're there to get him home, and there's no judgment. Well, that's a horse. That's a horse. A horse has so much loyalty. It can literally run at full speed for as long as you ask it to till it collapses and dies.
Let's not do that.
Yeah, we don't want to do that. But I say that to say our now veteran community doesn't see much of that once they hang up the uniform. There is that brotherhood and sisterhood in the military. And I come at this from a proud patriot perspective myself. My wife and I are patriots, and my dad's the veteran. When we started all this almost 5 years ago. So everything I say, I come from what I've learned from the veteran community. Let's face it, your family might let you down, your job can let you down, your best friend could let you down, but I'm here to tell you, you will let your horse down before your horse lets you down.
Beautifully said there. I know it's hard sometimes when we're dealing with stuff to say it, right? And express it in words, but to have somebody or something or some creature, right? Whether it's your service dog or whether it's your horse, right? That can just love you unconditionally and wants to be there with you. And you don't have to say a word.
Horse people out there that are watching this right now are all going like this because they all know exactly what I'm talking about, right? I am preaching to the choir out there somewhere, but they'll tell you if you're having a bad day, you can go ride your horse, go groom your horse. It's sometimes just as simple as that. Just grab a grooming brush, go brush your horse for an hour, and just talk to the world, talk to your horse, and by the end of that, you feel better. Yeah, I've been self-employed off and on probably since I was about 18, and in sales training, we always told everybody to leave your baggage at the door, right? Because it'll be there when you get back. Well, our goal is to have you pick up less baggage to eventually pick up no baggage, by the time you're done.
But JR, what about those that are afraid of horses? What if you've never been around a horse? Now, I've been around horses. I've ridden them. It's been a little while. I'm a little rusty. But, those that have not been around, those city slickers, it's not like most of us have horses in our backyard. Okay. So how do you deal with that?
It's the introduction, right? I mean, we're not just slapping a saddle on and saying, all right, giddy up, go get them. See you in a couple hours. There is a process. We want to sit down and talk with you. When we do our events, we want to sit down and talk and find out, first of all, are there any PTS issues that need to be dealt with? Anything that's above our pay grade? We have a very long list of warm handoff referrals that we can get you the assistance you need. And then it's just getting introduced to the horses, just being around them, right? I mean, sure, I get it. I mean, here's this thing for everybody that doesn't know. They measure horses in hands from the hoof to the withers or their shoulders. And it's like this: 1 hand, 2 hand, 3 hand. So here's something that could be 15, 18, 20 hands, 2,000 pounds. It's massive, right?
That's really big.
Yeah. Well, and I'll share a brief story on that one in a minute, but it over time, you learn to give yourself to the horse. And when you give yourself to the horse, you don't worry about the fear, the anxiety of how big this thing is and is it going to trample me? Because again, the horse feels what you feel, it knows what you know. So if you want that horse to work with you, you've got to work with it. Case in point, we did a trail ride, and I'm 6'4" and 260, so we always tend to bring some bigger horses for big boys like me. It was funny. I was at an event a few weeks ago, and I had an Army guy tell me I was light, because this dude was packing over 300 pounds, but he was just built anyway. So we're getting everybody going. We're setting them up on the horses, getting them in the arena, getting them comfortable first, because even on a trail ride, we want to make sure you're comfortable with your horse. Let's face it, horses are just big toddlers, so anything could happen. So we had one lady show up. She was retired Air Force, but she had ridden dressage for like 20 years. So she was in her element. Well, she brought her husband. Well, come to find out, she drug her husband along, who was active duty Air Force. We paired him up next to the most gentle horse we could. It was the Belgian. It was the big dog, and for everybody who doesn't know what a Belgian is, we all know what a Budweiser Clydesdale looks like. They're draft horses. Shrink that down just a little bit, and that in most cases is a Belgian. Okay, again, I'm 6'4". I'm looking at withers at eye level. This dude was 5'5" with boots on. Okay, he's probably looking at about ribs. So she comes over to me. We got him just waiting over there. We're getting to him. Jerry, you got to help me out. He's freaking out. He's mad. He wants to go home. Well, 10 minutes ago, he was fine. We all know the definition of fine. So I will never again speak to a veteran like I wear cowboy boots. I never wore combat boots. So I bring over this Marine with me who just loved to make fun of airmen, I guess. From what I understand, Marines just love to make fun of everybody that aren't Marines. And he comes over to him, and I will very much clean it up for the public here as to what he said. But he goes, "What's wrong with you, airman? You can't get up on a horse. You're going to go to Okinawa and you can't get up on a horse. What's wrong with you?" Well, after a couple of minutes, we started laughing, and, because the point of what he needed to do is he needed to get his mind off the horse and worrying about the horse and focus on him for a moment so we could transition him to find out what was going on in his head. And we all started laughing, and he goes, "Guys, I'm from the Bronx." Well, that's all he had to say. We were busting up laughing at that point. He's like, "You want me to get up on this thing? I never had a pet. I never saw the Mounted Patrol in Central Park. Come on." Well, eventually we get him up on the horse. He took orders very well, because like most rookies on horses, you think you're falling off the minute you get on. So his legs are like this, the reins are like this, he's just holding on for dear life. And we told him, said, "Look, in 5 minutes, even this gentle giant's going to take you to the Kentucky Derby. You don't relax." So we get him to relax, and he's slowly loosening up. And I'm telling you, it's a miracle. You could see the horse start relaxing. And we told him to drop the reins. Well, in horse world, that just means just kind of set the reins down. He took orders very well. He dropped the reins. We're like, "Okay, not what we meant, but you did what we said." So again, we get him the reins back. We get him comfortable. We said, "Now take in a deep breath and exhale." And that horse exhaled the same time he did. Now he's getting it, right? Because he didn't understand the horse feels what you feel. By the way, we didn't steal all this stuff from Yellowstone like everybody thinks we did. So we get him out in the arena. Okay, we're teaching him how to steer more with his feet and his hips than with his hands, because that's the other thing rookies think, that they think this is the steering wheel and they go yanking on the horse's head, and no, it's a correction point. You steer more with your feet and your hips. So we send him out on the ride. We make sure an experienced rider was in front and behind of him, just in case, because a horsefly could literally bite that horse's butt and, send that thing off a running. So he comes back, got this big ear-to-ear grin on his face. Well, first thing we ask him, by the way, first of all, Belgians are very, very wide. Okay. So, you might be looking a couple 3 feet wide on a Belgian. Here's a dude that's 5'5". It's never been on a horse before. Imagine how he was walking when he got off the horse. We're dogging him now. We're like, "How you doing? How you walking? How you feeling?" He's like, "Yeah, dude, I need to go get something to drink. I'll be right back." Like, he goes to get something out of the cooler. He comes back, and the question of all questions we never expected, he said, "Guys, can I go out on the second ride?" I mean, we were in awe. His wife was in tears because an hour ago he's cursing her out, wanting to go home. Mm-hmm. Now he's out on the second ride. Well, now we really had fun with him. So when he comes back, now we asked the owner of the place where we were at if he had a bag of frozen peas, and he did. So we get him off the horse. When he comes back, we chuck him a bag of frozen peas. He's like, "F you guys, but thanks." Now he's walking real funny, right? 2 hours on a horse, and he's never been on one. But what happened? That horse, first of all, let me be real clear to everybody out there. This is not about me, my wife, or my dad. This is the good Lord and the horse, and they told us what to go do, and we're going to do it. That day, it was the good Lord and the horse, because he was able to puff his chest out a little further. Now him and his wife could be a little closer, because she didn't really know why, he wouldn't go to horse stuff with her. So now they're a little closer in that regards. And when he went back out to Okinawa, I guarantee he was telling his buddies, "Man, you ain't going to believe what I did." Because we had pictures, we had the whole 9 yards. So I mean, it was a great time, and that's the power of just on a simple trail ride. What most people take for granted of, okay, we're out here on a trail ride. What that can do for somebody who's never been on a horse. I mean, we took this guy from scared to death to something that's almost the size of a Budweiser Clydesdale in about 3 hours, and now he's ecstatic about horses.
JR, I'd like you to really touch on something that you mentioned that caught my attention. I love that you're working with the veterans and helping them build those kinds of bonds, even starting with animals. If you can bond with your animal, then maybe there's potential you can bond with something else, right? But you had mentioned PTS. And I think a lot of people have heard of PTSD, but not necessarily PTS.
Mm-hmm.
Could you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Post-traumatic stress. You will hear us leave off the D. There is a bit of a movement in the military veteran support community to drop the D. I will be this bold once. It's not a damn disorder. Okay. It is something you've walked through in life. I don't know. I've never met a person that hasn't had some kind of PTS. You've walked through something in your life that now you have to learn how to deal with. The government calls it a disorder so you can qualify for some benefit money. Bottom line is you were a young, dumb 18-year-old kid, 17-year-old kid in some cases. You stepped off a bus on some yellow boot prints and you had 4 drill instructors yelling 4 separate orders at the same time, using words your mother never used before, and you had to obey them all at the same time. You're a different person after 6-8 weeks of boot camp. Then you are who they make you. Maybe you're a door kicker. Maybe you're the tip of the spear and you've seen things that the worst things humanity had to offer. My dad was running Marines upriver out of Da Nang and was running the dual 50 cals on the front of a PBR, in Vietnam. You think he didn't see maybe some of the worst humanity had to offer at the time? 4 of my buddies straight out of high school, 1991, went to the first Gulf War. So they saw some things, but you don't always have to be overseas. A good friend of mine, we call him Cowboy. He's from Arkansas, but he's down in Texas now. He was a Marine. He was stationed in Hawaii in the early days of the Ospreys. One of them went down and 4 of his buddies were on it. He celebrates their life every year because they didn't make it. And so, again, you don't have to be the tip of the spear, but there's always some kind of PTS. And that is one of the big things that we help get you through. That's what we mean by coming full circle and laying down heavy coats of burden. Okay. I may have never fired a shot in anger, had a bullet whiz by my head, or have a buddy die in my arms. I've walked through some things in my life, that would crush most people. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that to go like this. I'm saying I have the empathy to understand to a certain degree, what people are going through and how these horses can help you shed that off. I mean, we had an event earlier this year where, a horse came up and touched a young man right in the chest. And after working with it for an hour and a half, he melted and started crying like he was 2, just uncontrollably. Mm-hmm. He didn't really know why, but then eventually, as you start processing, figured it out, and he realized what happened to him when he was 19, when he was in the Air Force, and how at now 29, 30 years old, that finally started melting off of him. And it was the power of that horse that helped let that go. So for everybody out there, get the help, ask for the help. They teach y'all to fight as a unit, okay? Do not suffer in silence when you get out. You'll see it on some of our older marketing stuff, but it's a Latin phrase that we use, and it's the only Latin I know. It's non solum pugnare, unitum stamus. Don't fight alone. United we stand.
JR, and that's so true with anybody dealing with PTS, right? We've gone through life. If you're alive, you've gone through something.
Yep, that's true.
Military, not military. And I think those of us that have not served, we can empathize because we know how the things that we've gone through have affected us. Let alone when you're put into an environment where this is your mission, this is your goal, this is what you have to do. Sometimes it's for survival for yourself or for the people around you, right? That's a situation that the military's put you in, let alone just standard things that you might experience. Because For them, it becomes status quo of their life, right?
Yeah.
This is the way my life is. I'm in the military. These kinds of things are normal. It's not normal to the rest of us. And,
Right.
and just hearing about their normal makes us go, whoa, wait a minute. You what?
Yeah. Well, and that's what I try and teach the civilian community, especially when our now veterans, they're rotating out. A good friend of mine that went in, he was an MP in the Corps. And when he came out, I heard he was home, but I couldn't get hold of him, couldn't find him. And one day, I mean, for everybody that knows me knows I'm a Mustang nut, and you usually hear them before you see them coming because they're never stock. I'm driving through St. Louis, and all of a sudden, this St. Louis County cop whoop whoop turns around, pulls me over, and I'm like, I wasn't speeding. At the one time, I wasn't speeding, and and he goes, "Sir, step out of the car, please." I'm like, "What?" So now all the nosy neighbors are coming out because it was a pretty tight knit community. And he gets out, I get out. And it's my buddy Lenny Sanders that I played ball with, went to high school with, and everything else. And now all of a sudden, I'm like, you son of a, and I get up and I'm giving him this bear hug. Now everybody's trying to figure out why I'm giving this cop a bear hug. It just asked me to get out of the car. So, what he shared with me is he said, Jerry, I knew everybody wanted to buy me a beer, slap me on the back, thank me for my service. He said, I didn't know how to handle that. I'm like, well, dude, you're out. You can go do whatever you want now. Let's go get that beer. Let's go. And he said, dude, I don't know what it's like to do what I want when I want. He said, for 4 years, I was told when to pee. And that started sinking into me even back then. And I've taken that experience and build on that to what we're doing today. I mean, you get up same time every day, you PT every day, you eat the same time every day for a minimum of 4 years in your life. And so that made sense. It's like, yeah, so that's why he went to become a cop, because he didn't know what he wanted to do when he grew up. So, brotherhood, sisterhood of uniform, daily structure, routine. And he was a St. Louis County cop for about 20 years. So, Lenny, if you're watching, good to see you, brother.
Absolutely. You don't know what they've experienced day in, day out. I know the stories that I hear are like, what? Whoa, right? Just the idea of being someplace that's sandy where it's just a little bit hot. I don't know about you.
Right.
I'd be passing out in 120 degrees, and you expect me to wear a uniform with Kevlar and not pass out? I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
carry
what?
it, and if you are that door kicker, you're carrying 100 plus extra pounds of gear.
Mm-hmm.
The knee, ankle, back injuries, everything just that come from. I met a gentleman over the weekend that he was in Vietnam, and he was a radioman, and he was jumping helicopters, jumping out of Hueys and whatnot. They were about 3 feet off the ground. Now, it doesn't sound like a whole lot, but this guy was maybe $175, But you got to remember that if you look at those old Vietnam radios, those things were like carrying a tank on your back.
Mm-hmm.
And he's jumping 3 feet out of a helicopter. Well, he had this wrap thing around his stomach as support because he just had spine surgery. So imagine jumping 3 feet out of a helicopter, compressing your spine, your knees, your ankles, and everything else, carrying that big radio and whatnot. So most people, and not even me, have the full idea of what our servicemen and women go through. But, because again, cowboy boots, not combat boots, but just imagine, you jump 2 feet off the ladder. I mean, I'm 49, I'll be 50. I saw a post the other day that said, do what you want in your 20s, 30s, and 40s, but by your late 40s, early 50s, your check engine light's going to come on every now and again.
We don't recover the same like we used to. So definitely don't try and do what you did when you were younger. And all those years of doing all that stuff is going to catch up with you eventually.
It does. So it catches up with our veterans and because they're asked to do a lot of things that most people would never even think about volunteering doing for, a couple hours, much less 4 years.
Right. And it's amazing how overwhelming all that can be with the things that you're taught to be so independent and look out for your buddies. And then once that's taken away and you leave the service, now what? Right? Your sense of identity has been, and like you said, been told what you're supposed to do. And now you've lost that, right? Imagine for those that have gone up in rank. Okay. And then you put them in the civilian world and they're like, rank, what does that even mean? Right.
Yeah.
Not even realizing that the military is actually very good at building their leaders. They do more
Hmm.
leadership schools and training than your average civilians. You may have gone from worker bee to manager, but nobody taught you anything and they didn't train you to do that, right?
That's
Military,
right.
you get trained with every rank. Those leadership schools are there. So you've built yourself up. You have all these skills. You get out, and then you're talking to people that don't understand what you did, what you've done, and let alone all that experience and leadership training that you have that they have no understanding of, because they're like, oh, well, you were just in the military. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
seriously?
Just,
Did
yeah.
you just say that?
Well, and again, I try and train civilian businesses out there, especially ones that say we're veteran friendly. Well, that's a real easy thing to say, but hire one, hire 10. When we right now, for everybody that doesn't know, our situation with this, we run this out of our house. This is not a fancy green screen behind me. This is my family room. We use other people's horses and other people's facilities to do what it is we do. So we're working on building a flagship ranch right now as we speak. And all we're going to hire, I mean, it's going to have to be a very rare situation that we don't, are veterans and immediate household family. Because again, what did I say? You were the young, dumb 17, 18-year-old kid, and now they taught you how to do stuff that you've never done before. So for civilian businesses out there, seriously look at hiring veterans. Don't tell them they're overqualified
Right.
or, they were just a door kicker. A good friend of mine, and we all know him, Brian Gibson with Project Die Hard up in Paducah, Kentucky. He was a combat medic for 26 years in the Army. He went from the young, dumb 18-year-old kid to learning how to patch people up and get them to a hospital and keep them alive for 26 years. You telling me a guy like him couldn't learn how to do your essentially basic XYZ job? He's
Right.
learning how to, let's be blunt about it, stuff things back together and, patch it up to get you to a hospital where they could fix you up and send you home. So, think about that, civilians out there that are looking to hire veterans. Yeah, sure. Some of them might be a little sketchy, might be a little triggered, depending on what they've seen or what they've done. But I'm here to tell you, when my dad got out of the Navy in 1973, he went with a company called Avco, which was a Midwest finance company. It's part of Citicorp now, but they were kind of the savings and loan before there was such a thing. He finished their management program in 9 months. It was a 2-year management program.
Mhm.
I'm here to tell you, they've got purpose, they've got mission. If you give them that opportunity to do that, they will be your best employees you've ever had and the most loyal you've ever had.
Mhm.
So teach them, train them, coach them, give them the opportunities, and they will take advantage of it. I'm here to tell you guys.
And support them, right? It's different. They're coming out of a different life experience than your other workers. Why not look into doing some kind of special training with the managers at your organization to teach them how to work with veterans?
Yeah.
That's a thing. You have to know how to empathize, how to work with them, how to deal with the anxieties that they're dealing with. um, I work with veterans all the time with the DFW Veterans Chamber of Commerce, and so I'm working with veterans that are interested in either employment or maybe they're working on building their own business. A lot of times veterans will go from employment to employment opportunity, take 7 different opportunities before they get to the right fit. And why? Because even though employers are saying, "Oh, we're veteran friendly," they don't know what that means. They don't know how to support them, right? So how are you going to make them feel like they're part of this team? How are you
Yeah.
going to
Well,
create that team culture for them so they feel like, yes, okay, I'm not in the service anymore. I'm part of this new team. They want
yeah,
to be part of that team, right?
absolutely. Yeah.
How
I
are
mean,
you going to build that culture?
you can say, God bless America. Thank you for your service. Wave a flag. You can, and God bless you for doing that. Okay. I mean, you can do
Mm-hmm.
all those things, but you have to be able to get in the trenches and deal with what they're dealing with. Okay. Just
Mm-hmm.
the first time somebody has a bad day, because, I mean, here, a lot of our people in the veteran community do not go to fireworks shows for obvious
Mm-hmm.
reasons. Okay, sometimes loud noises, bangs, stuff like that will
Mm-hmm.
set people off. To this day, my dad cannot listen to bottle rockets with tracers. Okay, it sounds like
You,
mortar fire to our veteran community, so I
JR,
can't
I
do it.
was just talking to a veteran the other day, and like you said, Vietnam era, and he says even now, if his wife breaks a glass, he jumps.
Yeah, yeah,
Another one was saying they heard a backfire of a car and were looking to duck and cover somewhere.
yep. That's
You know,
PTS. That's PTSD. They didn't call it that back then. It wasn't until
Mhm.
after the first Gulf War that they actually started labeling it PTS. World War One, World War II called it shell shock. Nobody
Mhm.
really even knew what that meant. They got
Right.
home, suck it up, buttercup, go get a job, raise a family, move on. And that generation passed that on to the Vietnam era. And then, eventually people started figuring stuff out here. That there are some issues, and I guess they had to put some kind of label on it. So that's what they've come up with. But yes, I mean, but my point is, the first time something like that happens, you can't write them up. Now, I mean, sure,
Mhm.
if they did something against company policy, fine. They don't get 100% pass because they're a veteran. But, you got to understand what's going on. You got to get into the crux of, what they went through in order to help them grow and develop. When we hire people, oh, you better believe they're going to be right in the trenches. There's going to be a daily routine. There's going to be something they got to do. They got to show up on time. They're going to be mucking stalls right next to us, because I don't ask anybody to do anything that I haven't done 10,000 times myself. That's my leadership role. And, they're going to have that daily routine because they miss that. They
Mhm.
might bitch about it when they're in, because I was told by a higher ranking officer one time, if his unit quit bitching, he knew something was wrong, right? Because that was just their job. That's what they did. So, they may complain about it when they're in, but I'm here to tell you, they miss it when they're out, and they complain about it to their other veteran buddies that they miss it when they're out. So give them that opportunity, build that team, build the unit.
And give them the opportunity to lead. If they're going up the ranks and they've been up the ranks, they're used to having the authority. They're used to being, just teach them your procedures
Yeah.
and they'll run with them.
Yeah.
Right. One of the issues that I had with one of the veterans I was working with, he's like, I think I'm going to get fired. I'm like, well, talk to me. What's going on? We're just butting heads. Okay, well, what are you butting heads about? Right. Helping realize personality types and the fact that, your new boss doesn't know you yet. They don't know what you're capable of. They don't know what you're doing. So ask them, say, how can I better serve this organization? What do I need to know so that I do things the right way here? I want to be a team player. Help me.
Yeah. Oh,
And
it goes both
what a
ways for
difference.
sure. Yeah, you just can't, expect your boss to know everything about you or what you're
Mhm.
dealing with or anything else if you don't, let them know what's going on.
Right.
So,
Because
do you have to?
remember, in their mind, right, I've been leading. You told me what to do. I'm going to go do it.
Yeah.
Why are you questioning me? Why are you breathing down my neck? Why are you micromanaging me? Why are you right? They don't know you yet.
Yeah,
Once they
that's the key.
know
That's the
that
key.
they give you an assignment and you're going to make that happen, and they were like, man, this person's dedicated. They make it happen. I don't have to over explain things. They've got it. Right.
Yeah.
Just give them time to know you so that they know to trust you. Right.
That
You're
the
building that
communication
trust
goes
in your
both
new
ways.
team.
Yeah.
That's all it is, right?
Yeah.
But these are the struggles,
Yeah.
right, that we're dealing with. And this is just such a small little area, right? There's so much more where they're struggling. And so they're not feeling like they fit in when they come back. They're feeling alone. And they've been raised to be independent, right? They've been
Hmm.
told over and over again, everything, no matter what, you're going to make it happen. And so when you put them
Yeah.
in a position where they're feeling isolated, they don't know what to do. They've lost their routines. They've lost their camaraderie, their sense of team. They don't have that authority at work that they're used to having. What I mean? This is a huge life change when they get out.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
think
and
that's
bring
where
in
we're seeing
another
the
factor.
struggle.
Yeah, bring in another factor to that. If they're married and have kids,
Mhm.
okay. The husband, the wife, maybe they're both serving. I mean, we see that more so than ever. It used to be, the wife and kids were at home, the husband deployed, and,
Mhm.
whatever. Now, 21st century military, I mean, the kids could be being raised by the grandparents because both
Mhm.
parents are deployed in different branches. But
Mhm.
let's just take the old school example, okay? Husband or wife, somebody's in and somebody else is left at home to be chief cook and bottle washer, right? Parent, taxi cab, disciplinarian, cook,
Mhm.
the whole nine yards. So now, you think everything runs, that the veteran knows everything by acronyms in the military. The family does it too, because they got to learn it. It's so, they start talking with other people. They move to a new neighborhood, whatever. They still
Mhm.
talk like they're in the military. They're talking about acronyms, they're talking about things. And if you've never had a veteran in your family or anybody that served or know anybody that served, it's a whole other world to you. So what do they end up doing? They end up shutting down and isolating and either try and find other military families or just keep to themselves. Then the stigma of, oh, well, she just or he just, they just keep to themselves. They're not very friendly. No, if you don't even try and understand what they've had to go through with living on base housing. I mean, here we saw the art. It barely made mainstream media, and it pisses me off. They are asking our active duty service members right now that can't keep up with inflation. Well, just go get on food stamps. They can't. They're getting paid so little. When you hear country singers say they don't do this for, that military don't do this for the money. Your average E4, for everybody that doesn't understand military rank, okay, buck private, the minute you get in up to like E9, E4 right in the middle makes about $31,500 a year. I know McDonald's managers that make more and aren't getting shot at unless they're in a bad neighborhood, right? Let's have a little fun. It's a serious topic, and I get fired up, passionate about this, as y'all know. $31,500 a year, okay? And if they live off base and they got to pay for apartments, and, if you got kids, all the stuff that go with that. And our government right now is just saying, well, just go on food stamps. Oh, man, we could go on for 2 hours about how much that infuriates me because, it's like, so everybody needs to understand the struggles that these families go through, or these individuals, if they're single, go through on a day-to-day basis.
And JR, as a former mill spouse myself, I can tell you, moving from location to location, it's like, whoops, where are we going now? Okay, drop all the current friends you have here, and not to date myself, but a little bit old school here, right? This is back before everybody had cell phones, okay?
Yeah.
When I found out I was pregnant, I couldn't just call, right? My husband was out to sea. I had to send a package or a letter to let him know. And I got a 1-minute call from ship to shore. Are you serious? Are you serious? Right. That's
you
the
better
kind of
get it
stuff
all
we
done
were
quick.
dealing with. Yeah. I mean, it's constant. And so, when your veteran is active duty and serves, the family serves too.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
we go along with the flow no matter it was. As if you're a male spouse, you either have to work online or you have to have a job that's mobile. How are you going to get seniority and build those relationships in your community when you keep having to move?
That's right. And today's technology, obviously, with the kids
Much
and everything,
easier than it was.
It's easier than it was. FaceTime, Google Duo, whatever, Zoom, whatever your thing is. But let's face it, okay, post-COVID here, we all live in the Zoom world, and I love it. I've been able to meet more amazing people around the world than I ever would have before then. But the belly-to-belly marketing, as we used to say, right, coming up, man hugging, wrap around somebody's neck and give them a big old hug, that still is a big thing. And whether kids, family members, and they got to move sometimes around the world, let's say now all of a sudden they're getting, stationed in Japan or Germany or something. And, 2 weeks ago they were in Missouri. You talk about a major change in your life. Sure, Zoom and everything's a phenomenal thing, but now you're in a whole other culture. And now you got to adjust and deal with that. I mean, sure, you've got your other base people around you, but now your whole world's just changed outside of that. And again, if you've never experienced that before, if you've never moved, I mean, a good friend of mine, Chad Prather, always says, or he actually has gypsy tattooed on his body in about 2 or 3 different places from all the moving he did. I ought to have the same. I mean, I've moved so many times in my life. It's ridiculous. And that puts a strain on the family. It puts a strain on the kids. My daughter actually went to 2 different kindergartens, switched schools quite a few times. And I wasn't in the military. It was different job things. Sometimes I just got to bug up my butt that, hey, we need to go here. There's going to be a better opportunity. And that affects the family. So I can very much sympathize on that one as to how that can affect the family, because I've done it. Again, it's all about understanding. And, to tie this back into horses, somehow, I don't know what the good Lord did, but he makes the horse understand all that. He understands all your problems, all your angst, all your fears, and helps you calm them. But to fellow civilians out there, please understand. We understand that you have a busier life than now, now than ever. Honestly, I just think technology has made that seem busier. because there's still only 24 hours in a day. But take time to understand your now veteran population. Don't just thank them for their service, because after a while, it kind of seems like the checkout girl at Winn-Dixie. Have a nice day. Have a nice day. She might mean it on the first couple hundred people she says it to. By the end of an 8-hour shift, she's like, have a nice day, drop dead. I just want to go home, and I'm here to tell you, I'm getting this from our veteran community. They appreciate you thanking them for their service, but they want something put behind it. Get some put behind it. Okay. Buy them a cup of coffee, go cut their grass, go do something. Don't let them know you're doing it, because they're too proud. They won't let you do it. Okay. I've done this countless times. I've been at Cracker Barrel. I'll see a guy wearing a hat, of different conflicts, and I will get that waiter over and say, get me their check. And if you tell them I gave them the check, I'm kicking your butt and your manager's butt. Don't let them know. And don't let them know I paid for their check until you see me up and gone. Again, I'm not doing that to pat myself on the back. That's why I don't want them to know about it till I'm up and gone. I don't want them to see me there. But that's one way I can help thank them for their service, is just to simply buy a $30 breakfast at Cracker Barrel.
JR, you're going to make me cry. My baby was, his first duty station was overseas. And I say baby, but the kid's over 25 now, right?
Yeah, right.
And it was so hard. His first duty station overseas. He loved it. He had a blast, wouldn't change anything for the world. And I'm so glad he had that great experience. But every time I saw somebody in uniform, I was like, oh, it's like my baby's not here. And for me, I would buy a meal, or like you said, a cup of coffee or something for an active military that I saw here, because I would hope somebody would do that for my son.
Yep. Yeah, that's the key. I mean, again, we live in a divided country today, a divided world today, more so than ever. But y'all civilians out there got to remember one thing. They raised their right hand to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. So we can sit here and flap our gums and, tickety talk and Twitter and everything else, really things that make no bit of difference in this world, that, we bitch and argue about whether you're an R or D or red or blue or independent or whatever. In the grand scheme of things, that doesn't matter, because think about this right now. Someone's standing a post. Someone's guarding a wall somewhere around this world that doesn't get weekends off, doesn't get a steak and a beer, doesn't just go get to hang with the boys on the weekend. They're guarding a post. And there's a chance they may not come home. Now, I know we're not in a major conflict anywhere in the world right now, but folks, it happens, okay? Accidents happen. And take an aircraft carrier, for example. It's a floating city. There's 5,000 people in there. You don't think accidents happen sometimes? Some of the deaths, sadly, in Iraq and Afghanistan were not on the frontline battlefield. Sadly, somebody got ran over by a truck because somebody didn't see them, or they accidentally wrong place, wrong time. Well, guess what? That family still had 2 uniforms show up on their front door and say, we regret to inform you. Think about that today, folks. Your life and what you got going on may be serious, but right now, somebody might have them 2 uniforms standing on their doorstep, and they got to deal with that the rest of their life. What you've got going on is not as important, I guarantee it.
And JR, one of the things I do want to talk a moment about is the whole concept of PTSD and how that ties into a lot of situations where our veterans just say, I got to check out. I can't deal with life anymore, and I'm done. And I know we've heard things like 22 a day. And unless you're in the military or veteran space and in that community, you don't even know what that means. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, and we've got even sadder stats now. 22 a day is 22 veterans a day committing suicide. That is what we knew. Congress and the VA and everybody actually started keeping track of the stats around probably 2015, 2017. It's bad. It's really bad right now. Newest stats come out. I congratulate Fox News and condemn Fox News at the same time. Last Monday, Fox News put an article out online, They need to put this on TV. God bless the Queen. She was a great lady and everything else. And midterm elections coming up, that all gets ratings. But they put this online that sadly, the daily suicide rate is double what they thought it was, what the VA was putting out. And this was not a Fox News study. This was put out by Duke University, University of Alabama, and another organization. I can't remember their name off the top of my head. You can go to foxnews.com and still look up the article. And 8 different states across the country. And these stats were pretty darn recent. Just across the 8 states, it's 44 veterans a day committing suicide. And it's because they're not tracking the proper stats. They're not paying attention. Okay. The VA does what they can. There's a lot of great people within the VA. And I know there's a lot of people out there right now that are saying F the VA and this and that. And I have a love-hate relationship with them myself. My father's been fighting benefits since 2013. My father-in-law, who was Army 55 to 57, is 100%. But, you know, it's you might be 90 days out before you can get an appointment. A lot of things you hear within the VA are true. There is a lot of deny till you die. Here's just another pill. And I also know a lot of people that have had absolutely phenomenal experiences at the VA. So it's like anything else, it can go both ways. I say all that to say there are a lot of amazing people within the VA that want to do amazing things, but it is a government bureaucracy. There's a lot of red tape. There's a lot of people above the great people that want to help that aren't allowed to help because they're told they can't. This is one of the other many reasons why we do what we do. Again, if we can take someone and over time, because this is it took them time to get to this point. It's going to take them time to get them past this point, to get them to come full circle through horses and not be another statistic. Then we're going to do everything we can. And I hope some people out there got a little allergy in their eye right now, okay? Because over 16,000 great Americans are checking out off this planet every day every year that don't need to. And we need to do something to help. And that's what we're here. And we're asking y'all for your help. We can't do this all on our own. No man's an island. You know, and I can get into, you know, how we're growing and expanding and the donations and grants and everything else. I can get into all that if you want me to get into that. But, you know, people need to pay attention and help. I understand that this is not water cooler talk. It's not beer with your buddies at the bar talk. This is a damn tough conversation to have. And if you've never been in the veteran community before, I may have just knocked you over with a feather with that number. But people need to understand, and the Veterans Ranch is going to be shining a giant floodlight for the rest of now into 2023 and going forward as to what is going on in the veteran community so they can get the help they need. And y'all need to help us so we can serve the ones that served us all.
Absolutely. And JR, I just popped up the Veterans Ranch website that we've put together, and it talks a little bit about you know, what their struggle is, what the mission of the Veterans Ranch is, a little bit about how common is PTSD in veterans. Like you said, the numbers are going up, and that's not what we want to see, right?
No.
And how the ranch can really help with that. A lot of times, like we said, the veterans are afraid to reach out. So if you know a veteran, right, let's connect. Let's get it together. Let's help each other. Let's work together, right? Join the newsletter. Find out about what's going on in the veteran community. Find out about the next veteran activity that we've going on. If you're a passionate patriot and you want to help, right, please reach out and help. You know, work with us and help us make the world a better place for our veterans. After everything they've done to serve, let's try and help them get the support that they need. Know that they're loved, they're appreciated, and how we can work together as a team. And the website is a great place to go. I'm going to pop that up on the screen again. And the website is theveteransranch.org. And that's where you're going to find a lot of that information. Sign up for that newsletter, right? Go into the donate page and make a donation. Let's help make the veteran community stronger. And JR, we've been talking about, you know, helping with these veterans, but these veterans are nationwide, right?
Yeah.
So we can't do this through just one ranch.
No.
This is something that really needs to be a nationwide mission. And so you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. We have 19 million plus veterans now as ones are transitioning out after 20 years of Afghanistan, and just getting out today, right? 19 million plus. So we're here in Lakeland, Florida, halfway between Disney and Tampa. We're going to have a little windy thing coming by us here this week, but we're hanging in there. We're battening down the hatches. All's good in the hood there. But here's what we need. We need affiliate ranches across the country, and not just one per state. Give you an example. Florida has 1.5 million veterans, and about a third of those are within 10 counties of where I sit. Okay, so I'm in what's called Polk County. So you take from Lakeland over to, say, Clearwater and Pinellas County down to Sarasota. That's over 500,000 veterans in just 10 counties. That doesn't even count the rest of the state. So, how many affiliates can I put here? 5, 10. We've given people the opportunity now. There are now 53,000 charities that say they deal with veterans. That sounds great. The problem is about 40% of those have never collected a dime or spent a dollar on a veteran cause for any number of reasons. I'm not saying anything bad about any of those organizations. Maybe they decided to do it when they retired and they just wanted to get the paperwork filed now. Who knows? But the bottom line is we don't need 53,001, getting started tomorrow and starting from scratch. You can come under our umbrella. We're getting grants now. That's, a lot of people raise, hey, I'll get a nonprofit and get a bunch of grants. No, if they don't know you, they're not giving you a dime. So now we've got some seasoning on us. You can come under our umbrella. We've been studying brands and colors and marketing for the last 5 years. And you get the benefit and the support of all of that in your area. So you can be, be the Veterans Ranch, Fort Worth, St. Louis, Sacramento, Denver. Get in touch with us today. Let's get this mission going. You don't have to be a veteran, although it'd be great if you were, but as long as you are a proud patriot, okay, let's just make that big umbrella, and you've got some land and you've got some horses. It could be 10 acres and 5 horses. Let's get the job done. Okay. You don't have to have the 4 Sixes Ranch in North Texas to become a part of the Veterans Ranch. Let's make this happen and let's start serving the 19 million vets, because I'm here to tell you right now, out west, equine therapy is a thing. People know about it. He's got a lot of dude ranches, he's got a lot of horses. A lot of the old west is still out there. Basically, from Texas east to the Mississippi, it's a very unknown thing. And we need to make it a known thing in the veteran community, because horses have been serving the special needs community, the autism community. There's stats for decades out there as to what it's done for them. Help us help these veterans come full circle, and you can employ more of them. Okay. They will love to do it. Trust me. And we have a million things that are on the drawing board when the flagship ranch gets done. We're probably going to need to hire 50 people day one right off the bat on the flagship ranch, and possibly go up from there. So again, reach out to us. If you've got some land and horses, let's start serving these great Americans.
JR, thank you so much for sharing and talking about your mission and how you're helping to serve the veteran community. What you're doing is so important. And I look forward to seeing how things grow. I look forward to seeing our community help donate towards that flagship ranch. And I'd look forward to our community helping to build out those affiliate ranches and make those connections for us. So if anybody knows of a ranch that's already going on right now and they want to start affiliating with JR and the Veterans Ranch, reach out to JR, right? That's contact@theveteransranch.org. And he will be so glad to talk to them. Reach out to LinkedIn and connect with JR Smith there on LinkedIn with the Veterans Ranch, right? Have some conversations. Let's introduce JR to those that want to be involved in this mission, or to the passionate patriots that want to be involved, or the veterans that need services. So let's help him connect the veteran community, and let's make magic happen, because that's really what we're needing at this point. So JR, thank you so much for coming in and sharing. I appreciate you so much for that.
Yeah, thank you for your continued support and helping us spread our message and get things done. We're so honored and proud to have you on the advisory board. And to everyone out there, you know, you hear me say it all the time, but we love y'all. God bless. Take care and giddy up.
Thank you.